Welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess Videos. I'm Kerry Schertz, the Backyard Professor. I'm here on the South Fork of the Snake River, out just enjoying the weekend. It's a beautiful fall day, and I'm studying some chess. Instead of hunting animals, I'm hunting kings. In this game, I once again open with the king-pawn opening. My opponent's going to do the French. We're doing the French, and I go ahead and decide to do the French advanced. I push my pawn. What this does is it gives me more central space and it closes the board. The center pawns are locked. Therefore, this should be a game where the knights can prevail as opposed to the bishops. That's my idea. I want to use my knights in this game if at all possible. So I immediately begin developing my knights, which is what you should do in this kind of a position. My opponent is building a very strong central pawn structure, and then he brings his bishop out to here, pinning my knight to my king. I unpin my knight. He pops off. When the center is locked like this, when the center is closed, there's not a lot of need to hurry with your development, and usually play will begin either on the queen side of the board or the king side. My opponent is choosing the queen side to come forward. He certainly has more queen side space than I do, so I've got to play carefully here. I don't want him to mow me over on the queen side. At the same time, I want to proceed to keep developing my army, and at this point my opponent makes a really good move. He does this correctly. He brings his bishop out to a6. Now, do you see why that's such a good move? I'm going to explain a couple of things. Number one, my opponent's pawns are mostly on the white squares. So his white squared bishop is his bad bishop. He's not going to have any range and influence by putting it here. He just blocks himself in. On the other hand, for me, my squares, my pawns are on the dark squares, so my dark squared bishop is my bad bishop. This will limit the range of my bishop. What my opponent does here is wonderful. He brings out his bad bishop, and he's going to force me to exchange my good bishop. Dang it, man. I have the range on the white squares here. I've also got pawn targets with my white squared bishop. But he's forcing me to exchange. I'm not going to move it here, 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 or take that pawn and lose the exchange. I've lost the bishop. What's going to happen is we're going to have a bishop exchange, and he's going to get the better of this exchange. So at this point, I'm thinking, you know, I need to prepare. I'm not going to take his bishop. I'm going to let him swap the bishops. I can get ahead in tempo here if I play this right. It's obvious that if he exchanges bishops, I'm going to take him with this pawn. You see that? We're going to exchange the bishops. Moving this pawn to here doubles up my central pawns, that's true. But it also will open up the file for me. So, thinking ahead as far as I can, which is only about one move, I am no Capablanca or Alekhine, I pushed my rook over so that I can have an open file. Do you see why I made that move? This gives me a tempo. I'm a move ahead of my opponent here. And he exchanges the bishops. A very good thing to do with bishops. If you can get rid of your bad bishop and take your opponent's good bishop, do so. That's very good chess by my opponent. He's got my pawns, my central pawns doubled. It's kind of cramping me in a little bit. My bishop here is going to have a hard time with a good game. He's got his good bishop, and he's going to have an excellent game. At this point, I've been outplayed. But I have an ace in the hole. I have gone ahead and acquired the open file. This is important to recognize how to read the chessboard so that you can give yourself the maximum good position and take the time. The center's closed, so take the time to put all of your pieces on their best squares. That's what I have to do at this point. I bring my knight down in here, and he takes my bishop. Now, the bishops are gone. The center is closed. I have doubled pawns in the center, but they are securing really good central squares, so technically they're not a weakness, even though I know they can be. A lot of people will say, ooh, yuck, that's a bad position. Well, yes and no. At this point, they're certainly helping me and they're not hurting me. And he's bringing out his knights like crazy because this is a knight board. It is a closed position. Knights love closed positions. This outpost here or this outpost here for my opponent is very good. Conversely, this outpost and this outpost for one of my knights is very good. So it's a knight board, and I'm recognizing that, so I'm wanting to get my knights into this game. My opponent castles. I castle. Time to castle. It's always good to castle as early as you can. Notice what my opponent does now. He's playing good chess, man. I have this open file up to his weak pawn. There's no pawn that's supporting that pawn, so that pawn's weak. He brings his rook opposite of mine in the file, protecting that pawn and contesting my open file. This is how to do the rooks. I so promise. You won't find a grandmaster out there or a master who will disagree with the philosophy of the rooks I'm teaching you. Now, they'll disagree with the way I play my games because I'm not as good as they are. But my philosophy I'm getting from them, and I'm trying to incorporate it into my games to show you guys. My opponent's playing pretty good chess. Well, it's a knight's game. So I'm trying to get my knights over to his king side. Notice how he puts his knight on the outpost. Very good. Very, very good. The knights want advanced support points, and that's his. I've got both my knights breathing down his throat now. The center is closed, so it's safe to make several moves with your knights to get them into a good, powerful position. Jeremy Silman talks about this in his books on how to reassess your chess. My opponent takes my weak front doubled pawn. I come up to give my other pawn support to keep the center somewhat mildly closed. My opponent wants to bring his queen into the game. I have to back off here. I'm seeing something else. I need to get rid of his knights. His knights are too strong. I have the open file. I want to create another open file or find another one. So at this point, he's going to be able to show me his knights are better than mine. I'm going to try to swap it. He does me the favor and swaps my knight. I take it with my rook. And now I have my rook up and developed. I can bring my other rook into this if I need to for a strong rook file support. Now look what he does. He brings his queen over to here, threatening my knight, coming down to this direction toward my king. What do I do here? Because I swapped his knight over here and took it with my rook, I now have a chance to get my rook over here to threaten his queen and protect my knight. He comes to here. I bring my rook over here. Now you can see what I'm going to do. It's so obvious what I'm doing here. If you were playing black, you know I'm going to bring this rook up to here and over to here, because I'm going to have a great kingside attack, and I'm going to get rid of that bothersome queen here. He presses his pawn, gaining more centralized space. It's not going to do him a lot of good right now because I have some powerful rooks on the rank and the files. I've given up this open file here for now, and I've got a better position here toward the king, I believe. So he drops his queen down, and of course, I'm going to take advantage of this file. It's not an open file technically. These bees are attacking me. Get away, man. I don't want to be stung. I'd hate to cry on camera. I grabbed this open file here and here. Technically, it's not an open file. I've got my pawns here, but I'm in front of them. So my file is very useful. Now you notice what I'm doing? Because of my position here, he has no choice. He has to weaken his kingside pawns. He has to chase away this knight. So this is good. I'm beginning to get a crack in his armor. Look at this. I've got a beautiful outpost for my knight, putting him in check. Now I've got the outpost. You notice how I developed this outpost because I put my rooks on files toward the king. I now have a sensational outpost for my knight. This is fun chess. He was showing me his knight outposts. I decided, well, I can do that. I've studied Jeremy Silman enough to know how to do that. And of course, he can't leave that knight there, so he has to take it. Now, at this point, I ignore his knight, and I'm bringing my rook over so that I can come and get him. I'm going to bring my rook over this way so I can come and get him. He brings his knight to here, threatening my queen and my rook. He forks my queen and rook, but to no avail because I'm simply going to take him with my pawn. And what he does here, he's exchanged knights for all intents and purposes, and now he's got his queen taking that pawn, and now his queen has an interesting angle toward my king. He's kind of opened up an avenue for his queen to function. You notice he hasn't used his rooks at all. And I'm absolutely using my rooks. I believe this is going to win the game for me because this side is protected. It truly is. I don't think I'm going to be able to break through. But I can come back over to here. I come back over to here and acquire a target. I can break through over on this side. He drops his queen down here going check. See, he opened up an avenue for him to come and get me. Of course, it's a macho check. It doesn't accomplish a lot. He's going to secure this pawn here because he's thinking he's gaining space, and I suppose he's thinking that he's going to keep on marching in. I don't think that was right. He should have pressed this pawn to protect it because now I've got an open file and a breakthrough again. I'm protecting this pawn, but I lose this pawn. His queen is going to obliterate my queen's side. But it's too little too late because I have my queen up to here so that I can make use of my other open file. Do you see this? I'm kind of surrounding him in a way with a net. I couldn't use my queen on this file, on this rank, so I need to bring my queen up so I can come over here with this attack, and I also have my rook on this side. I'm going to surround him. He pushes his pawn. I take the pawn. Before I move my queen over to here, I go ahead and take the pawn. This is called an attack by revolution, not an attack by evolution. It doesn't just evolve, I charge in to sacrifice something. I'm willing to sacrifice my rook because I've got him in a two-way approach. I'll show you this. He takes my rook here, of course, and now I acquire his 7th rank. Isn't that cool? That's what you want to do with rooks. Open files and then 7th ranks, and I put him in check with my rook. Now, what's the move my opponent's going to do next? Do you think he's going to move his king back? He doesn't. It's not going to do him any good if he does. I've got him right where I want him. His queen is out here, out of the way of any kind of threatening posture. I'm going to bring my queen over to here, and he's in trouble. I'm getting him from both sides. So all he can do is play his rook forward. I take his rook, check again. All he can do is move his rook forward. I take his rook. You see the power of the rook on the 7th rank? Put him in check. He drops down, straight back. I bring my queen over, go check. He moves his king over, and I move my queen up, checkmate. The power of the rooks in the open files. Now in this instance I had a queen on the rank and the open file also, because I used my rook as a battering ram to break through to get to him, because I knew on this open file I could get to his 7th rank. So I came in from both directions to get his king. That's the power of the rooks on open files. Use them that way. Use them on open files and put them on the opponent's 7th and 8th ranks. If you can conjoin your rooks with your queen, that's even better if you can. So thanks for watching my videos. I hope you enjoyed this game. This is a fun game for me to play. Happy checkmating, and I'll see you in the next video.